Hi, I'm Carrie Miller, HR Advisor for Next Level Solutions, and today I'm going to share some tips with you on how to avoid catastrophic HR mistakes. First thing you need to know is whether the person working for you is really an employee or an independent contractor. Many times these people get classified incorrectly. An employee is someone who actually works for you. You determine what they do, when they do it, and where they do it. You have complete control over their work product. An independent contractor, by contrast, is someone who could be working for other people. They decide when they're going to work, how they're going to do it, and in some cases may even outsource the work. What you're paying them for is the finished product. You don't have control over how they do the job. And the difference is that you are not paying payroll taxes on them or deducting payroll taxes. You're simply paying them a lump sum at completion of the job. If you classify them incorrectly, then you could have problems with payroll later on. The second thing is your I-9 forms. This is the employment eligibility form that should be completed on every new hire within 3 days of when they start work for you. You need to see the original documents when you are verifying that they are eligible for employment. You can't have photocopies. They can't provide you with photocopies. You can make a copy for your files if you choose to, but you have to actually verify that these are original documents to the best of your ability. If you don't have this I-9 form, and if it isn't filled out correctly, then you could be penalized by having to pay government fines. If someone cannot provide you with those documents within 3 days, then you need to pay them for that time and terminate their employment immediately. Another thing you need to know about is workers' compensation. Workers' compensation is required for any business that has employees on payroll. And as I mentioned earlier, your independent contractors are not employees. They should have their own workers' compensation coverage and should be able to provide you with a certificate of coverage to verify that. Workers' compensation serves to handle the cost of on-the-job illnesses or injuries. When your employee gets hurt or gets sick as a result of doing their job, that insurance will pay their medical bills as well as any lost work time. It also restricts them from suing you so that it has an added benefit there. Payroll taxes are very important. You need to be sure that you are deducting them correctly and that you are remitting them correctly to the different government agencies. If you don't do this, then you're going to have to catch up at the end of the year, and it can be quite costly to do it in a lump sum. Other payroll issues mean that you need to understand whether or not someone is eligible for overtime. Simply because you pay someone a biweekly salary does not mean that they are exempt from overtime. Overtime exemption has to do with how they are paid, how much they are paid, and what type of job they do. This is determined by the Fair Labor Standards Act and is a very complicated process, so I recommend that you ask for an HR advisor like myself to help you determine which employees you need to pay overtime. For those employees who are considered non-exempt from overtime, you must pay them 1.5 times their regular hourly rate whenever they work more than 40 hours in a work week. They may not voluntarily waive payment of overtime, and you're not allowed to use compensatory time in lieu of payment. So it is really important to understand which employees are eligible for overtime and how that should be paid. One other issue with overtime is understanding that when someone comes in early, before they clock in or their regular start time, stays late, or works through a lunch break, you need to pay them for that time. It is compensable. Many times people have gotten into the habit of sitting at their desk and eating their lunch while they continue to work. For non-exempt employees, it's important that you give them at least a 30-minute break from all work duties. Otherwise, that is time that must be counted towards their 40 hours in the work week. And when they go over 40, you owe them time and a half. Some other things to be aware of are the minor labor laws. If you have employees who are under the age of 18, there are certain restrictions that you have to be aware of as to when they can work, the type of work they can do, how long they can work, and what type of breaks they are required to have. If they are still in school, they must get a certificate from the school that they attend that the school is okay with them working. And the only exception to this is if the parent is the immediate supervisor for this employee. So again, important things to be aware of. Jury duty in the state of Louisiana means that the employer must pay up to 8 hours of regular wages every year for someone who is called for jury duty service, whether they're just in the jury pool or whether they actually serve on a jury. 8 hours regular wages, and if they are a part-time employee, then it is the equivalent of a full day. That's regular pay. Other payroll issues are improper deductions. Sometimes employers want to deduct from employee the cost of equipment that is lost or damaged, but you need to be sure to get the employee's authorization signed in advance that they understand that that's what will happen if there is a problem. The same is true with uniforms. Damage or failure to return uniforms, you can't just automatically deduct that from their check. You need to have signed authorization done in advance that the employee understands that this will happen. The final pay problem is a very common one too. When someone leaves your employment, whether it is for termination or resignation, you are legally required to pay them what is owed to them by the next pay period. You don't have to produce a check that same day, but by the next regular pay day, and it should include all wages that are owed to them. If they have any paid time off or vacation left, you also need to pay that. And it's important to understand the distinction between vacation, paid time off, and sick leave, because not all of them are eligible for final pay. These are all things you need to know as you are manage your workforce so that you don't get caught off guard, because when you don't comply with the law, many times employees will file a complaint and then you have to make good on what you owe the employee but also pay penalties. Other ways that Next Level Solutions can help businesses with human resource issues: we update and write employee handbooks. We can make sure that your employment application is legal. We can conduct background checks for you. We help write job descriptions to be sure that you can hold people accountable for job performance, and we help you with that documentation for performance issues. We can help with harassment and/or discrimination complaints and investigations. And because we also have a team of accountants, we can also help you decide whether or not you can actually afford to hire an employee as your business grows and you need more help. Finally, last thing I want to make sure that you understand is that there's a lot of stuff out there on the internet, but you need to proceed with caution, because documents that you download from the internet may not be current, consistent, or relevant for your business. All of your HR documents should be reviewed and updated by a trained professional like myself. These are the type of things that will make a difference as you are managing your workforce to save you from catastrophic HR problems.